Welcome to today's video. Welcome to the Video Game Fight School channel. Thank you very much for tuning in. So today we're going to be continuing just a few more detailed analysis surrounding a lot of what we've gotten through Gotham Knight. Usually I try my best to do this. So for some of you who may say, well, these videos seem to be somewhat repetitive, believe me, we have to go into a lot of detail because there are many questions that continue to surround Gotham Knights, and I enjoy just taking my time to provide what I feel are possible answers and to get your feedback as well. So one of my longtime audience members pretty much has a very solid concern, because this concern, I've actually seen it not just from this audience member of ours, but from other people as well. So Eisen pretty much is asking this one question. He said, my only problem is that 2 years footage looks better than what we have now. Now, this is in reference to the Batgirl footage that we had from 2020 and the Red Hood and Nightwing gameplay that we had in 2022. If you look at both of them, you're going to see that there is a stark difference between them. Now, the best explanation that we have so far is one of them is taking place in a Mr. Freeze setting, and the other one is just taking place as a regular side mission, possibly at the beginning of the game. So even that small cut of Robin gameplay that we also saw that the developers put on Twitter, that to me still speaks of kind of a preliminary open world event and not necessarily a full-blown mission. But that's not necessarily a satisfactory answer. I know, Eisen, you're probably going to be like, well, I get that, I know, but why would the gameplay look so different from the one that we saw in 2020? Well, let's see if a technical answer can probably provide a little bit more context around this. So I was doing a little bit of investigation, and I saw something that's actually called game state change. So this is where a game would actually have its entire state change in regard to where your progression is within the game. Now, this can happen back and forth and be a condition for the world to maybe revert back to the way that it was or stay how it is, depending on where you've reached in the particular game. So in this video, we're going to use two different examples to kind of highlight this. The very first example, we're going to stick close to home, which is in Batman Arkham Knight. So for those of you who played Arkham Knight, and if you played the Mr. Freeze DLC, you'll notice that his own arena and his own zone was a very different area. I mean, when you're fighting the, in quote, final boss fight for Mr. Freeze, it's a bunch of tank battles. You and him just collab, and it was kind of weird and mid, if you were to ask me. But that area is all iced up. The entire world is very different from the Arkham Knight that you started playing, where it was just a rainy night for the most part. So if you look at the difference between that, you're going to see a very huge contrast in lighting, colors, just to accentuate this new frozen area of the city itself. And then when you even beat this particular mode, which is basically you completing all the most wanted missions, you eventually find out that the entire world changes depending on where you're playing. If you're playing New Game Plus or the other side of the difficulty, you're not going to see this. But if you're playing the regular game and you beat it at this point, your game state would stay permanently in a snowy Gotham. So everything now is a Gotham City where snow is just basically dropping. The rooftops, everything has changed, and it remains a permanent aspect of the game state. I think what we saw in that Gotham Knights trailer from 2020 was a game state change based on that particular mission from Mr. Freeze, because apparently we are halfway through his, Mr. Freeze story, villain mission, or whatever it is. I can't remember. And that's basically what we saw. So the game state change had maybe its own effects. And so you're seeing this huge contrast and you're wondering, is this even the same game? And I think that's a possible explanation for it. Now, example number 2 is from Elden Ring. I'm sure most of us here, we've played Elden Ring and you've already beaten the game. So for those of you who have already beaten the game, you know that once you burn should I spoil it? All right, let's go for it. The game has already been out many months, but once you get to a specific point, you'll notice that the entire world receives an entire game state change, and you start to see ashes everywhere that you travel in the open world. This is indicative that you have actually completed that aspect of the game, and the game state remains like that permanently until you start New Game Plus, which would then revert a lot of different things back to where they were. This is the way the developers decided that they were going to go ahead and actually make the game. So the game state change, if you were to see footage from that aspect and see footage from the regular game, yes, they're not huge contrasting differences, but it is significant enough for you to be able to say something is different in your game session compared to my game session. Now, I think the Mr. Freeze mission in the Gotham Knights first trailer from 2020 was probably heavily exaggerated with its lighting and its effects. In fact, I said this before because, not only did they have, frozen, aspects of the city, there were lightning sequences and occurrences. So maybe they're trying to play up this Mr. Freeze has found some device that's causing a weather anomaly. So not only are we getting, an ice storm, we're getting a thunderstorm on top of the ice storm, just to be able to add a little bit more seasoning to the entire dish. So I thought I'd probably just share this information here and just leave it here so that we can kind of see that, okay, this is a possible explanation. So if that game state looked pretty pristine and pretty cool compared to, say, maybe the just bland, world where there's just puddles of water and it probably looked like a night where it had just maybe recently rained, then I guess that's probably the explanation. Now, I look forward nonetheless to seeing this Batgirl mission or gameplay sequence, whatever it is, in a higher quality, because in 2020, even if it looked different, even if it looked kind of nice, the blues, the highlights, and all of the lighting, it was still rendered in a very low frame rate compared to what we got in 2022. 2022 was rendered in higher frame rate as well. The textures were also pretty cool. I would love to see textures be better for that Batgirl gameplay. So not until we get the game are we going to kind of get a better picture. But I think this is, in my opinion, what must have happened when they showcased both of that. So that's pretty much my analysis. Thank you very much for watching the video. I really appreciate you guys so much. Leave your thoughts in the comment section. If there are any other video games that you've seen huge significant game state changes, let me know in the comment section, and I'll be happy to go ahead and maybe just, engage in a conversation. And if I've played the game, I'll probably maybe, comment on that. Or if I've not, I'll probably go check it out. Talk to you soon. Peace out.